Hello everyone, this is the Underdog, aka the German Viking, and I wanted to basically do this video on TYT and Norway and socialism. This is something that I've been thinking about for quite some time. I've done a previous video in the past, and I got a lot of haters on that video. But this is an old video, but it just keeps grinding my gears when you have these people, these ideological people, keep on lying about my country, which I currently live in, and spread lies about and lie about how the society and our economy is working. So now I just wanted to tackle this video, and let's see what this video has. I haven't watched it in a long time. I just remember when I watched it quite some time ago, it infuriated me. So let's dive right in.
Right now we're in Norway, and we would be remiss if we didn't cover some Norwegian news. But we do have to also accept that Norway is a very different sort of country than the US.
Yes.
Most of those ways are good.
Yeah, I really can't complain. I
So
could
far now,
totally
based on our
live here.
experience.
Yeah, I think I've been to all of the Scandinavian countries at this point on vacation, so I'm pretty much an expert.
Yeah.
After staying at Airbnbs in all of them.
You've lived real life.
Yeah, so I'm an
Yeah.
expert. No, I mean, every time I come here, I'm just kind of like, I kind of see why this Scandinavian model is trotted out in every single country, from every single party, kind of, all over, especially the developed world, or the Western world. I mean, it's a different kind of socialism.
Yes.
You know why it's a different type of socialism? It's because it's not socialism. So they have a long trodden intro to the video, but they say some nice stuff about Norway, which I'll gladly take, even if it's from TYT. However, stop claiming Norway is socialist. It's not. We don't have free healthcare as you claim we have. Even our education isn't free to that extent. I mean, we do actually pay a semester if it's a public education college or a university. You have a semester fee. It might not be a lot. I probably think it's around 120 bucks or something, but it's not free. And you also partially funded through. We have a draft where both men and women now have to serve 1 year in the military, or in the civilian part of the military. Or you and you also pay through the taxes, but we don't have these massive bureaucracies in these. They have to basically contain themselves, even though they're also publicly funded. So they do get money from the students, and the students take up loans to move to the city to basically live in cheap apartments, but they do take up loans. So, and the healthcare, there is also, if you go to the doctor, that's not free. If you have to go to the emergency room, that's not free. If you have to take an operation, that's not free. And because Norway is also such a small country, we don't have the experts that the US might have. And so wait times for some diseases can take longer than it probably would in the US. So, but that's because we have limited amount of expertise. So it's not socialism, and our taxes, they don't resemble anything near what socialism is, and our government don't own the means of companies and private businesses. They don't own the means of production. So again, you are full of crap, TYT.
It's its own brand of socialism. And I've read reams of criticism about, it's because it's ethnically homogenous. No, it's not. Like, statistically, it's becoming less and less so, and then they'll point to any sort of riots or protests or issues in Sweden that there's been recently. Let's not even the Trump thing. I'm having flashbacks to him being like starting a whole thing in Sweden. Remember when he was?
Oh, no, I actually don't remember that.
No. Remember it was like when he was doing his like victory speeches, and he was like, "You see the problems they're having in Sweden."
Oh,
and
yeah,
he was
yeah.
referencing
Throw a firebomb in a whole country that way.
Yeah.
But it's weird because there are these policies that not universally, but generally seem pretty successful for long periods of time and are very popular. It's almost as if some American politicians should take some of these lessons and try to apply them in the U.S.
Okay, so first of all, I have to address a few of the claims they made. So you cannot implement what Norway and Scandinavia has done, because Norway and Scandinavia in general are much, much smaller, not only in landmass, but also in population. You cannot implement the form of government that these countries have done when U.S. has so much more land, so much more power, so much more money and economy inside basically running the world and the superpower of the world right now. You cannot do this. You cannot just look at these countries and say, look at how awesome it is here. Let's implement it in the US. That just doesn't work. So there was also something else. You claimed it's awesome that the countries are getting less homogeneous. Just look at Sweden. They have huge problems. They have no-go zones now. There are areas where they're actually calling for ambulances and then attacking them. There have been videos shown. For example, there were 3 women that tried to arrest one man, and because Sweden has lowered the standards for women becoming police, and also I saw a long documentary of how they lowered the standards for firemen, so that women could qualify to become this easier as well, and minorities. The people who often are in these positions are unfit to do the duty. So these 3 women couldn't arrest this one guy. And you have these areas where they're attacking ambulance personnel, and even male people refuse to go into these areas. They have Sweden is basically the rape capital of the West as well. Are you serious that Sweden is a model the U.S. wants to have? I think not. That's the consequence of open borders and just incredible naivete and stupidity and arrogance as well. So Sweden is just screwed at the moment. Denmark and Norway. Our politicians even said we don't want Swedish conditions in our country. So why would we be anything like Sweden? Sweden is screwed at the moment. And you say that it's good. We're becoming less ethnically homogeneous. Right now, there was a few months ago this patrol. It's basically a voluntary patrol. They go out in the weekends. Usually, it's grandmas and grandpas that have retired and want to look out for younger people who cannot hold their liquor or have problems. So they go out during the evening, and they call themselves night ravens. And they go into the city and just look after people. And they got attacked by these minority Muslims and get pelted rocks at and just attacked. So they have been advised not to go in certain parts of Oslo in eastern Norway. How is that good? And there are ghettos now forming in Oslo, and Oslo is becoming just it's full of crime and these people who just form their own communities and don't integrate. 50% of from I think 2017 from minorities that are Muslims are on welfare in Norway. How is that good? They don't contribute to the society. They don't pay back into the system. and we've fortunately become much more strict when it comes to taking in. Last year we actually deported more than we took in Norway. So I support that because we have massive drug issues because there are lots of depression here. So people are taking lots of drugs, unproportional or much more proportionally to other countries. It might have to do with the darker times and just rougher life here, but when it comes to weather and I mean there are a number of factors. I'm not gonna claim that I know all of the reasons, but drug issues are something we need to solve, and instead of using our welfare systems to pay for these people, we should concentrate on people who actually need it and send these people back. That's been some of the propositions of one of our ministers who are in government right now. And when it comes to these ghettos, it just doesn't work. I just don't want these people here who don't integrate. They commit crime. They unproportionally commit crime. I think it's they make up less than I think 2 or 3% in Norway, and make up for like 30% of the crime. So that's the statistic from 2016, I believe I saw. And no, that was rape. Sorry, 30% of rape were committed by minority Muslim individuals. So, or immigrants. I don't think they label them under how they create the statistics here. So how is that good? How is it good to become less ethnically homogenous? I'm not an alt-righter. Just give me a good reason. Just don't say, oh, diversity is good. Anyways, let's continue into the video.
I think that would be popular.
Well, like, so yesterday I bumped into a very nice older farmer. And he was like, I'm just around the corner. We're protesting that the government has lowered the amount that they buy all of our crops at. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's such a weird
It's a divisive issue in America too.
Yes.
Subsidies for certain crops actually have
I don't even think it's
widespread
subsidies.
policy in place.
It's like they straight up buy.
Well, straight up buying. I mean, we do the same thing in the U.S.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Some would say American obesity actually can be tied into that in a strong way.
Yeah, but I mean, the general idea, there are people that have done PhDs on this. There are people that spend their entire lives studying the Nordic model or whatever. But the basic idea is let's put gains back into society so that it's better for all of us. It's a crazy idea.
Yeah, why don't we start by putting the gains into the top 0.1% of society?
They should,
and just do that for a couple hundred years. And
don't
see
get
what
me wrong,
happens.
it's still definitely not, it doesn't seem like, I don't know what the stats on social mobility are here, but there's still very much like an aristocracy and actual royalty in many of these countries. Yeah. And aristocracy as in like actual landholders. And I don't think the wealth moves around a lot.
So this is how I know they're completely full of shit. This is where I'm getting actually angry. So the whole thing with the farmers here is because it's particularly hard to grow food here. Because in the western part of Norway, they can mostly just grow mostly fruit. And they have to rely a lot on animal products because the land here is so rocky, the fjords and everything. In eastern Norway, it's more flat and a little bit more south because it's easier to grow food, so they can grow more vegetables and fruit there as well. So it's easier to grow food there, and the weather is also more stable to grow vegetables. And for the food subsidies, it's because it's a protectionist economic model where you have tariffs or import tax for everything that we basically a substitution economic model where you have if we don't have anything we can produce ourselves like meat, milk, cheese, whatever, We have it here and it's subsidized and it's cheaper in the store. If it's not something we can grow ourselves, let's say peanuts or something like that, something we will have to rely on, and even fruit during winter time, the prices get lowered so they can come, products can come in to regular prices. So that's how the food subsidies work. No, they say we don't pay. We share our gain basically, and don't pay into our 1%. So first of all, we have low salary taxes. I believe the average, from what I looked into, from the government for public people, who work for the public office and for the government and state. The usual tax rate is about 24%, 24%, and there's high taxes on food and other things. So there's a lot of things that are considered luxury in Norway, and this is also how I know they did zero research when they came to Norway. Our entire aristocracy died during the Black Plague in the after 1349. So basically, a king, everything died out, and what we have now is basically the grandchild of a Danish prince that is king. That's how you know these people did no historic research. They could have Googled this very easily. So Norway was basically under Denmark and Sweden for centuries. So, and the social mobility, they claim that we have a rigid social mobility. Our social mobility is actually better than the US. So, again, zero research. I'm going to link several videos of Harald Eia. He actually explains this. He's has a master's degree in sociology. He's also a TV personality. So I'm gonna link to his videos. He can explain it better than I can. But these people are talking out of their ass and don't know what they're talking about. But it's TYT, so I didn't expect much.
Okay, the local, I'm not familiar with that. What about somewhere else? I mean, I looked at multiple places, and at least 3 out of the 5 were the same on all of them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is
Maybe we're
this
doing
is
a
an
disservice
attainable
to
goal.
Norway.
Maybe, and it's not to say that they don't have serious problems. They of course do, but they have some things up on us, and these are not things that theoretically couldn't be replicated in the United States.
So they have the lowest, one of the lowest murder rates in the world. And last year, actually, one of the speakers was a man that survived the Anders Breivik mass shooting. Incredibly moving. But even there, they have this, like, the smallest number of prisoners in the world, or one of the, they're in the index of that, they have some of the smallest groups of prisoners in the world, and the recidivism rate is the lowest in the world. It's
Again, maybe we could learn something from them.
But obviously, of course, those stories come out all the time about, like, luxury Norwegian prisons, and I think Breivik, the maximum sentence you can get here is like 21 years.
I think so, yeah.
Which is mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think that there are still ways that they can keep him in.
And I bet you there are people here that are not happy with that and think it's ridiculous. But I also think that most Norwegians, I'm not gonna speak for most Norwegians, but
that's our job.
I don't know if there's, I don't feel discontent fomenting around me. I think satisfaction with their government and society is probably a little higher than ours right now.
It seems so.
Totally
I mean, that's true,
anecdotal.
I think, in a lot of failed states, actually.
I have to give them the props for actually talking good stuff about Norway, but again, I have to correct them, and I also have to correct myself because they actually touched this, but they were just rambling about literal horse shit smelling good and some news articles that had no impact on what they were talking about. So I cut that out of the video, and so they actually said the social mobility was higher than the U.S. So. I have to be fair to them. So they talked about prisoners, but a lot of people here in Norway do consider the prisons as basically hotels, because there are people, as I have said, who come here and do despicable acts and go into these jails that could be considered hotels compared to other countries. We do have a high rehabilitation rate. About 75% of our prisoners don't return to our prisons. So that's the best thing I can say about the prisons. They actually do their job and provide them with education if needed. And they talked about that Anders Behring Breivik, because he is currently serving. I'm gonna claim it's a life sentence. Again, these people haven't looked into the facts, and they talked about 21 years, but he got 21 years with exception, basically isolation, and they can basically continue his sentence for indefinite if they deem so, because they could have done the 30-year terror sentence, but he would have gotten out after 30 years or 10. I believe one prison year is 10 months or something like that, so it wouldn't be even 30 years. But they did this 21 years with the exception rule, forvaring it's called in Norwegian. And so, again, these people don't make the research. I mean, they claim that Norway is socialist. Denmark has told Bernie Sanders stop claiming that Denmark and Scandinavia is socialist. I mean, look at what these lefties in Sweden are doing to their country. They're destroying it. I don't want to go to Sweden at this point in time. I mean, even in Denmark, they're deporting, not deporting, actually, they're dumping the unwanted people who have come through the migration wave onto a literal island, and basically tell them, well, we can't deport you because we don't know the country of your origin, and you're here illegally, so we're just going to dump you into an island, and you can live there away from society, and just leave us alone. And so, yeah, I just want these people like TYT to stop claiming stuff they don't have the first clue about. They should have basic research when they talk about this stuff, and stop just talking nonsense and claiming stuff about Scandinavia and Norway in particular, because I live here. And especially stop with the socialism bullshit. So, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.